was just catching up on 401 files, and fuck, dude. Fuck. It's taken off. It is taking off. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. Now you gotta just like take advantage of it and just keep pushing.
And as I'm sitting there, I realize I can see Scott and Eddie. My brother's over by the car and he's looking over at me. And my friend Scott is just over to his left. So I can see them plain as day. And I'm certain if I could see them, they could see my face from the reflection of the fire. So I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for them to just come back out. And from the road that I just walked on, what I could only refer to as a Bigfoot Sasquatch. I'm 6'3", and like I said, at the time I was 240 pounds. This Bigfoot Sasquatch, when it walked by on the same road I just literally like 4 minutes prior, towered me by at least 8 inches.
Now, I turned over and looked over my shoulder toward Caitlin, and I seen this big black figure standing behind me and Caitlin. It would have been about 7 foot tall. That was a warning. Yeah, it was absolutely terrifying. It was like fear itself walked up behind you.
We're just sitting there, and quite low in the sky, a black triangular UFO just comes silently travelling over us. It had no sound. It had a light in each corner, and it was a absolutely perfect black triangle. It stopped in exactly the same spot and did exactly the same thing. Exploded into a ball of light, shrunk down to a pinprick, and then a column of light from top to bottom went to the ground and disappeared.
Hi guys, thank you for joining me back here again on the channel. This video should have been out sooner, so I do apologise for that. Thank you for all being very patient, as always, with me. But I have been quite poorly. Thankfully now I'm through the worst of it, touch wood. And we can get this video wrapped up tonight. Now, I haven't brought a tent. I've not brought any kind of sleeping apparatus like an airbed or a sleeping bag, but I will be staying in this forest till the early hours of the morning, just walking around, filming as much as I can and talking to you guys. It's going to be a great night. I'm already feeling some eerie vibes from this place because, as always, at this time of night, everybody's cleared out and gone home, leaving idiots like myself roaming the forest and people that live here in the national park. So it's going to be a great night. I've brought the EMF reader. We're going to have a play around with that tonight and hopefully we can get some good results. And what else did I bring? I brought the star pointer, but I don't think there'll be much use for that tonight. It's quite overcast. The main thing I want to do tonight is just sit and absorb and go down a few rabbit holes with my thoughts about what I think is happening in these places, but also as well talk to you guys about missing 411 cases in places like this, national parks. The UK, believe it or not, for a small little island, well, I say small, relatively small, we do have a large number of missing people that just disappear, seemingly vanish off the face of the earth every year with no explanation. So I will be talking to you guys about some of these cases tonight. And let's all just pick our brains and have a think as to what the hell is going on. You guys kick back, relax, and as always, enjoy.
When people describe certain aspects to it, you have to view that encounter based on what you're being told. And I think often, regardless of which side of the fence you're falling on, you can't explain it away just because it doesn't fit into what you think it is. You have to take it on its merits. You might not agree with it, you might not believe it, but you can't dismiss it just because what you're being told doesn't sit comfortably with you.
Lily, come!
Lily! Come! Good girl. You okay? Good girl. Good girl. Well, if there was anything in this forest that didn't know I was here, it certainly does now. Obviously not the best approach to investigating. Nice. So I'm just going to do a quick scan of the woods, and I'll do it as slow as I can. And let me know if you can see Lily, because this is how easy it is for something to remain hidden in areas like this, only a few feet away. So here we go. Did you spot her? Well, if you did, congratulations. If you didn't, here she is. I'm really into my podcast at the minute. You know, I'm really back in that place where I was a few months ago, where I'm fascinated by the subjects and I'm diving into everything that I can find and get my teeth into, because you go through waves, and anyone that's been fascinated by these phenomena for any period of time, you'll be able to relate. It's not, you know, constantly always on it every single day, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You go up in peaks and you come back down in troughs, and you just keep going like this with your... I mean, you're always fascinated, don't get me wrong. I'm always fascinated. I've had experiences myself in my life that will always be with me, and I'll always be asking questions about these experiences, and I will never ever leave these phenomena behind. But life takes over sometimes, and you know, sometimes even if it isn't life that takes over and starts to take you away from these subjects that you love, people choose to step away, because any length of time talking about these subjects can put you in a negative place. Because once we realise that we're never going to find the answers, that we have been lied to, that can do things to a person mentally that they'd rather avoid. So a lot of people I know choose to step away for a period of time and then come back to it. And that's healthy, that's good. But yeah, I digress. I'm back into my podcasts. I'm really enjoying the content that I'm hearing, and fascinated by people's stories again. I love being out here talking to you guys and bringing you the content that I do. This is where I'm the most happiest. It doesn't matter how many times you venture off into these places. To say that you're brave now, and to say that, you know, you've experienced everything that there is to experience, there's nothing to be scared of, would be the worst advice that you could pass on to anyone. I come into these forests all the time. I spend a large chunk of my life venturing off beaten paths into places like this behind me. But I would never ever be as confident or as cocky to say that I know every square inch of this place, and there's nowhere in this forest that can go unnoticed by me. I would never ever dream of being that kind of guy to say those things. And I would never say to anybody coming in these places for the first time, I would never say to those people, there's nothing to be scared of, because there is. There is. And even now, all these years later, coming into these areas on my own, waiting to nightfall, it's creepy. There are no two ways about it. I wish I could be that guy that's, you know, tough, manly, and says there's nothing to be worried about, I'm never scared. But I would be lying. I would be lying. There are times when I come in here and question my decisions, question my choices that I've made to bring me to that point. And as I've previously stated, I'm still learning new things about these areas. So just to add to that a bit further, whenever somebody's coming out with me to film in these locations, I expect there to be a level of fear. And if there isn't, I'd be worried. Because fear is what's been with us from the start. It's what's kept us alive to this point. As cavemen, whenever there was danger nearby, fear would kick in, and we would know exactly what to do in that moment, whether it be run, stay still, make noise, be quiet. If you can't control that fear, it can control you, and it can cloud your judgment and make you make decisions that are irrational and quite stupid. So that's why people always think that fear is a bad thing, but fear is not a bad thing. Like I've said, I expect people getting out here investigating to be fearful. The real art is having control over that fear. Because on the opposite end of the spectrum is having no fear. And this to me is worse. If I bring someone out into these areas and we go off filming and that person just doesn't have any fear whatsoever, that could be dangerous as well. That could be very, very stupid, because that person isn't going to know how to react when shit hits the fan. You know, we hear a lot of these stories where cryptids just walk by in close proximity to a group of onlookers. Now, if you're sat next to someone that has no fear, who's to say that person isn't going to jump up, start shouting, waving his arms around, trying to grab his phone out of his pocket to take pictures? That would be the most stupidest thing at that point that you could do. Fear will dictate, stay put, keep quiet, and let this thing walk on by. So whenever I hear people ridicule me or mock me for being fearful, they don't understand how beautiful it is to be in control of such an emotion, because fear is needed in these areas. It will dictate what you do next when shit hits the fan.
If you get scared easy, it's not for the faint of heart. If you get the heebie-jeebies easy, if you're just an easy thing to be scared off, I would not suggest going out looking for these things, because you just might find it. I still get creepy feelings out in the woods, still get the heebie-jeebies, hair on your neck stands up. Like I said, 4 steps, and it was 35, 40 feet away. So that's easy 7.5 to 10 foot strides, easy for my first encounter. I don't know of anything that moves like that can move in that big of steps and be that large, but still stay quiet.
Here's something to think about in terms of reaching intelligent beings. If life is common throughout the universe, would intelligent aliens be more interested in technology or biology? You see, my guess is that they would probably be more interested in technology used by biological beings rather than the beings themselves. But the problem we have here is that technology signals may be extremely difficult to detect. You see, Earth has only been sending out signals in the form of radio waves from about the 1930s. So in theory, those signals have now washed over about 15,000 stars, including their orbiting planets and moons. But 15,000 is a tiny fraction compared to the 400 billion stars that are in the Milky Way. Furthermore, it takes time for any return messages from aliens to travel back to us. So the only stars, let's say, within a 60 light year radius have had the time to respond to us, since we humans here on Earth have only started broadcasting off planet during the 30s. And even then, we have to assume that whoever's receiving the messages at the opposite end has the equipment to intercept it, but also to understand it. It's a tricky one. It really is a tricky one, but in my opinion, I think that intelligent extraterrestrials would probably be more interested in the technology rather than the biology. But who knows? You guys might think differently. You might think differently.
Oh, they're out here. They're out here. No two ways about it. You can try and convince yourself otherwise. You can read the debunkers' side of things and try and convince yourself that they've got a stronger argument than those who have witnessed these things firsthand. But ultimately, there are too many people out there experiencing these things firsthand, boots on the ground. People have had their lives changed. Either this is the most elaborate prank ever, or these people really are experiencing these things. And if we're honest, we can make an argument about anything, like the opposing argument to the extraterrestrial phenomena, the opposing argument to the Bigfoot phenomena, or the paranormal. Do these things exist? Here's why they don't. We can argue about anything, right or wrong. In the 1940s, Hitler argued that the Jews needed to be eradicated. Was it right? Absolutely not. But there was still an argument there to be had. I don't mind arguing the minute details. Is Bigfoot an extraterrestrial? Do extraterrestrials come in peace? Is the paranormal
life after death, I don't mind arguing these minute details because these are things that we all want to know the answers to. Where I become frustrated is when we argue whether these things exist, full stop. Looks like there could be a storm rolling in. It's quite humid, but the clouds above me are starting to roll in and they're looking quite ominous. Ominous. So yeah, storm impending. Let's do this. So I'm just sat on the infamous track where you guys will have heard this before, I know, no doubt, but I'll mention it again for any of the new subscribers. This is a track where I'm sat now that cuts right through a part of the forest called the Bummer Wolves Trail. It was given that name because late one night, working on this trail, putting a few jumps in for the mountain bike riders, a guy had an experience with something on 2 feet, something bipedal that he claims chased him out of the forest. Now, there's a lot of people that are in favour of this story and say, I know the guy, it's completely true, this did happen, that's how it got its name. Then there's the other people that say, absolutely not, this is a load of crap, this guy made it up, or he was freaked out, but you know, it wasn't a dogman. So there's two sides of this story, but regardless of any of that, I just find it fascinating that these stories are in circulation. And to some degree, I'll even go as far as saying, I don't care whether it's real or not. I just like hearing stories about people who supposedly have had an encounter or a run-in with what we call a dogman. This is new to me. It's new to most people. I'm sure if you dig further enough back, you can go through the archives and you'll find references to dogmen and werewolves, etc., as you can with any phenomena. But it's not really caught hold like it has in the last 15, 20 years. And that's fascinating. Did this guy get chased out of the forest by something on 2 feet resembling a dog? I guess we'll never know. But the story still continues to circulate and people will debate whether that's true or not for many, many more years to come. As you can tell by the quality of the footage now, guys, there's probably only about an hour's worth of light left before this place is cast into complete darkness. All the different noises that you can hear happening around me, all the different birds going through their nightly routine, will fall silent, and this place will become a completely different world. But this is what we do. This is why we're here. We get into these places, and as frightening as it is for anyone that's ever had an experience in this location, I can't imagine. I can't begin to imagine how that must feel. My experience was on a hot summer's day. I was with other people, although they never experienced what I experienced at the time. There were other people close by. So I can't really compare what I experienced to, say, somebody that's left out here on their own on a night, walking the dog, maybe stayed too late riding the mountain bike through the forest. Who knows, but to be out here on your own and have an experience of something otherworldly, wow. There's a few things I'm going to mention right now. Tracks, human, man-made tracks like this one behind me. First of all, they're extremely creepy because it's like a corridor, like you know yourself watching a horror film. Let's say The Shining, for example. The corridor scene was probably the scariest. Whenever you have a scene where the actor is running down a long corridor, it creates anxiety. And for me, this is what a man-made track like this can do. For a long time, I had this mindset that, I can't film anything that's man-made in my footage because it takes away the mystery. You know, if I have a man-made cycle track like this behind me, it really, takes away the idea that this is a remote location or it's a place where strange phenomena takes place. That was my opinion. I'm not sure why that was my opinion, but that was my opinion until I spoke to G. I've mentioned already during this video that G is a guy who shares very similar interests and will be appearing on a video that's coming up soon here on the channel. And I basically, long story short, I aired this opinion to G and I said, I don't really like filming on like tracks where, you know, that are man-made, because for me it takes away the mystery, it doesn't make it as creepy. And G said, no matter where you go, there's going to be tracks. Like, it's very rare, even in Yosemite National Park, where G has visited. He said there was tracks there, but that's a huge hotspot for strange phenomena. So the idea that filming on man-made roads or tracks or by signposts that are put in place for the public, and thinking to yourself that, oh, well, you know, nothing can happen here because it's a man-made track, that's just ridiculous. And so it's always nice to come across someone that changes your mindset like that, because, yeah, I don't know why I thought that. I don't know why I thought that way. It makes sense now, and G's right in everything that he said. If phenomena is going to happen, it's going to happen. There are so many cases throughout history where people have been abducted off main roads, highways. So that kind of debunks my whole idea that roads, tracks, signs that are man-made aren't as creepy or are less likely to create phenomena. I hope that makes sense. As I'm saying, I'm feeling like it doesn't, but... Right, guys, I've just sat down for 5 minutes. I'm really quite comfy in every aspect, like where I'm sat on this little chair. My emotional and mental state right now is quite comfortable. I'm not scared. I don't feel anxious. Obviously, as nightfall creeps in bit by bit and this place becomes darker and darker, I have to become conscious that those emotions, those anxieties will start to rise, but that's natural because it's getting darker and my body's screaming at me to be aware of that. I've brought the EMF reader with me, and bar stripping down naked to prove to you guys that there's nothing on me that would trigger this, you're just going to have to take my word. Hopefully by now I've gained the trust of you all enough to know that I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't fake this in any way, shape or form. So if this does go off, I'll be as baffled as you guys are. Also as well, worth noting is that the phone I'm filming on could set this off, but that's about 2 meters away from me, and when I do ask the questions, I will hold this further back to increase that distance. That should be enough room between this and the phone to not set this off. But I just thought I'd mention that so you guys know. Off to my left is a little red light. Without that on, you guys wouldn't be able to see me. So I've put that onto quite a low setting, and that's just set off to my left. The noises that you might hear, like rummaging noises, sniffing noises, in close proximity, is likely to be Lily. Lily is not settled down yet, so she's just sniffing around. And I'm just trying to set the scene so you guys know what is. That is cool. That was loud. No doubt the phone picked that up, but if it didn't, that was what sounded like a tawny owl. Really loud though. Okay, so I'm going to fire this. Oh, one more point really quickly before we start. Where I am right now, I'm about 20 meters away from the infamous Bummer Wolf Trail. You guys that have been long-term or long-time subscribers here on the channel, you will have heard me mention this famous trail here in the national park. It has a lot of dogman stories tied to it. Whether they're true or not is debatable, but nonetheless, it's really well known for cryptid sightings in this area. So with that out of the way, we're going to fire the EMF reader up and see what we get. When I press this button, you'll see that it spikes. That's just basically the device finding its level. It should fall back down to green, and then anything after that, any spike after that, will be something triggering the electric magnetic field within this. Okay, so it's found its level. I'm going to hold this back and start asking the questions. So I'm sat here very close to the Bummer Wolf Trail, a trail that is famous for strange phenomena. Maybe I'm not further enough back from the phone. I thought the 2 meter distance would have been enough, but it doesn't appear like it is. I'm pretty sure that's my phone making that spike. So what I'm going to do is set this further back, but I'm not sure how I'm going to do that because I've got nothing to stand it on. Here we are. Nah, I'm not sure how I'm going to do this. I'm going to have to set this back on the floor over there further so it doesn't get triggered by the phone. But yeah, 1 second. Okay, so that's balancing on a stick. We're now talking roughly about 4 or 5 meters away. I'd say at least 5 meters away from the phone, so that should not be triggering at that distance. But it could do that. But that's going to fall. It is literally just balancing on a stick, which is tilted back. And the weight of that device is going to knock that stick back and it's going to fall over again sometime. But so far so good. So I'll quickly start asking the questions. You can see that it's not spiking at this point, which means that we are further enough back. I am close to the Bummer Wolf Trail here in Dolby Forest, a location specific to cryptid sightings and other strange phenomena. If there is anything in this area that wishes to communicate, please make the device move or light the LED lights up as much as you can, please. If you can hear me and you wish to communicate, please interact with the device just behind me and make the lights go up as high as you can. If that's you moving the lights, please hold the lights there for a period of time, just so I can be sure. That was brilliant. If you can do that again. That was perfect. Thank you so much. If you can make the LED lights go up to the yellow, that was brilliant. Thank you. That was yellow exactly. I'll count down from 10. Within that time, if you can make it go up to red, I will take that as an indication that there is someone here. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That went up to red. Thank you so much within that 10 count. So I'm going to take it that there is someone here, and try and get to understand who or what this something is. First of all, would you like to communicate? If you wouldn't like to communicate, interact with the device, maybe make the device fall, push it over, or go up to red for as long as you can. And that will tell me that you don't want to communicate. If you do want to communicate, either push the device over or make it go up to red for as long as possible. I'll give you a 10 count. 10, 9, 8, 7. Brilliant. Exactly on the number 7 again. You spiked right up to red. So I'm going to take that as you do want to communicate. Lily, what are you looking at? Lily's got this stone-faced expression locked in that direction just behind the camera, which, may I add, is the deep, dark woods. Lily's on high alert, like her neck is stretched really, really taut, her ears are up, and she's just scouring the area. So I'm not sure if this thing is just doing this intermittently, and it just so happens that it's in correspondence to the questions I'm asking. I'm not really sure. What I do know is that it's getting extremely creepy, as I expected it would, as it got darker and darker. Lily's freaking me out more than anything, though. As I've mentioned, like, she's really alert, but that's natural as well. The same fears that people, like humans, have in the woods, loyal animals that are close to humans, like dogs, will fear the same things as well. You know, she's pack orientated massively. And so anything that's going to come into our little pack and create danger or distress, she's going to be on the lookout for that. Right, I'm going to just ask one last question, and I want you to push the device off the stick. Just give that little stick a wobble behind me. There's a device sat on top of it. That device will fall off once you nudge the stick. Just move the stick, and the device will tip off from the top onto the floor. No result there, guys. No result. But not to worry. Not to worry. We don't know how these things communicate. And I'm not sure if I'm a big believer in the EMF readers myself. I have had some really good results on them in the past that have been extremely accurate to the questions I'm asking, but the thing I'm struggling with is if there is something here now with me that can hear me, interact with me, or interact with the LED lights, why can't you push off the device? That's the question I'm asking myself now, is why can't you do that? No, I'm going to leave the device on. I'm not sure it's giving us any accurate response at this minute. So I can only be honest. I can only do the examinations and tests that I can do. I can't make this thing do anything that it's not supposed to. However, I do think it's moving intermittently and coincidentally at the right time. I don't think it's doing anything because of otherworldly phenomena, let's just say. But I'm enjoying my night so far. I can see above me now that the first star is out. And it's not cold. It's been a beautiful day. And yeah, it's been beautiful. It's just great to be sat out and talking to you guys. Throughout this video, I've mentioned about fear, and I've talked about how, you know, fear gets a bad rap. People think that if you're fearful, you're some kind of a chicken. If you're fearful, you're easy manipulated and you're easily led. And I've tried to explain to you guys that fear is a good thing in many different ways. Not too many people though get to experience fear, like real fear. Fear to the point where you try to scream and nothing comes out, or you try to run and your legs just don't work the same way that they would normally. I've experienced that a few times in my life, and it's absolutely terrifying. The first time I ever experienced fear, I couldn't scream. I remember I tried to scream as loud as I could, and nothing would come out. It's an experience that I've never had since. And then later on in life, when I was early 20s, I was scared to death, pretty much, with something that turned out to be nothing. Like, it wasn't paranormal, it wasn't cryptid. It was just a really bizarre situation. And I'll give you a quick rundown of what happened. Where I used to work was a multi-storey car park, and below this multi-storey car park was like the storage bay. It was like a basement, and you had to go through a little, like, I used to call it like a hobbit door. It was a really small door where you'd have to bend down to go in, and then you'd start slowly going down underground into this basement, and that's where all the paperwork for the car park was held, all the old fax machines and printers that we didn't use anymore. This was all stored down in this basement, this underground basement. It was also a place that I used to go to have a cup of tea or a coffee, because it wasn't in the way of the cameras, and I just didn't want to look like I was stood around to management doing nothing. So I used to go down there and take like a 10-minute break, just having a quick cup of coffee and playing on my phone. It was a creepy place, but with the lights on down there, it wasn't too bad. So anyway, just to set the scene, you go through this hobbit door, you bend down, you go through the hobbit door, you start walking down gradually deeper and deeper underground into this basement. Now the lights are on, so as I've said, you are underground, but it didn't seem terrifying. And on this specific day, I'd been into town and I'd bought myself a brand new torch, like a tactical torch. I think it was about £20 at the time, quite expensive for a torch, and I wanted to try this thing out. I'm sat there, I'm having my cup of tea, and I thought, oh crap, I've got my torch that I've just bought today, I'll go try that out. Well, the deeper you get underground, you then hit another little hobbit door, which is even smaller than the first one that you had to duck down to come in. And once you go through the second hobbit door, which is already underground, it then opens up into this room. And I'm sat there, I'm having my cup of coffee, I'm playing on my phone, I feel the torch in my pocket, and I think, oh yes, I forgot about that, totally forgot about that. I'll go try it out. So I stand up from my chair and I go to the next door, which is deeper underground, and I push it open, and now I'm stood in this room which is pitch black, completely pitch black. The light switch is at the opposite end of the room, and my plan was to walk into the middle of this room in the dark and turn this torch on to see how good it performs. As I walked into the middle of the room, somebody, a human, went and I instantly nearly died on the spot. All the hairs on the back of my neck went up, my legs went to jelly. The adrenaline rush from calm and collective to, oh my god, I'm now about to die, that rush of adrenaline paralyzed me to the point where I could almost not even move. There was someone in that room with me, someone in the middle of that room, in the dark, underground, at a place where they shouldn't be. I had all these different thoughts and emotions running through my body, my head, and I don't know how, but I managed to make my legs start moving, and I ran for the door, the little hobbit door. Well, when I got to the little hobbit door, there's like a little step up. It's only tiny, a few inches step up. You have to step up onto it, duck your head down and go through the door. I clipped that step up and went flying into the next room where I'd just been sat, where the light was still on. Grazed all my knees, grazed all my hands. And as I'm running through that part of the building to get to the first hobbit door and exit out onto the street, my legs, it was the most weirdest sensation I've ever experienced. It was like I was in a computer game and I was running in slow motion. Like, I wasn't getting anywhere. It was like I was running in treacle. Although my mind was saying, just run as fast as you can. My legs wasn't doing that. So when I get to the first hobbit door that leads out onto the street, instead of running back up into the car park and up to the office where I work, I turned around and I thought, there's someone in there. Like, there is someone in the underground basement of the car park where I work. Why would that be? Like, who even knows about this place? Because if you're just an average person walking past or using the car park on a daily basis, you wouldn't know this place exists. And you certainly wouldn't think to go try the door and walk in there. Because you wouldn't do that. So I stood at the first hobbit door and I shouted back into the room, "Hello? Hello?" And then, guess what? A guy An actual human being, flesh and blood, emerged from the second hobbit door underground and started to walk towards me. My heart is beating through my chest. And I stood my ground thinking, well, I work here. Like, I've got reason to be here. You don't. So as he's walking towards me, I'm holding the door open. And I said to him, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing down there? Why are you sat in the dark? And the only thing he said to me was, I'm sorry, mate. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. I like coming down here sometimes to get away from everything. And it didn't register with me at first. And I thought, what the hell is he on about? He likes coming down here to get away from everything. But because there is boxes down there, and there's old fax machines and printers and computers, I thought instantly, this guy's lying. He's obviously gone down there to steal some of the old office equipment. So I waited till he left. I watched him walk down the street, and I went into the room where he'd just come from, bearing in mind I have to go back underground to get there. I walked through the dark room, hit the light switch on, and sure enough, in the middle of this room, underground, in a place where he should have no idea about, he should never have known this place existed, was a chair. He'd put... Sorry, there was some movement behind me. Lily was alerted to it as well. But yeah, back to my story. This guy had pulled a chair out and sat in the dark. Like, he was just sat there. What was he doing? That was the second and only time that I've ever experienced fear to that level. Even when I had my extraterrestrial experience at the age of 10, I never experienced any kind of fear because I didn't think it was real. I thought it was a prank. So my mindset was in a completely different way of thinking. I was thinking, you're not going to trick me. This is a prank. This is a joke. So that level of fear, even then, with that experience, wasn't there. Which is, I guess, why I'm able to get out here into the woods and do this stuff still. Like, if that level of fear had have been there, would I be here now in the woods talking to you guys? Probably not. I'd be terrified. But luckily for me, my mind was telling me it was a prank. And so the fear level wasn't there. I wasn't scarred from going back in the forest. But going back underground at work on my own, was I fearful of that ever again? Absolutely. I never did that ever again. I never went down there and took 10 minutes to take a break. And that's what fear can do. Fear can permanently scar people from doing what they love or doing what their routine tells them they should do. Fear is a very, very powerful emotion, chemical, whatever you want to refer to it as. Okay, so guys, I'm going to stand up now and have a bit of a walk around. I think Lily wants to get up and stretch her legs a bit as well. I'm going to take this device off the back,